Awesome. Thanks. So I would love to know, before I even share with you what shadow work is, if any of you have done shadow work before. If you have, just raise your hand. Okay, cool. This will be a little juicy intro for you guys. And I'm curious, as it relates to creativity, where you might be stuck. If 2 or 3 of you wouldn't mind sharing, just to get us going, where you are stuck in your art, in your life, in your business, where could creativity serve you right now? Whoever wants to be brave and unmute themselves. Anyone? Struggling? Yeah? Lily.
Hi, good evening. My name is Lily. I don't know why I'm struggling because I have a lot of emotions that are happening with a lot of stuff that's going on right now. So instead of me being able to open that up into my artwork and into just letting it out and just focus on that, I just seem to can't be able to do that. It's like I'm holding in tight. I'm not letting go.
Yeah, that's beautiful self-awareness. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Can anyone else relate to sometimes just kind of holding it really tight in and not knowing how to maybe express it or start moving it out of your body in a positive way? Yeah. Yeah. So we'll talk about that. Thank you for bringing that up, because I want this to feel customized for what you're experiencing right now.
I would say for me, it's an ending of many things in my life. I mean, my dad died a year and a half of COVID, and my mom is deteriorating in every way mentally, which can be quite cruel. You know, some people, as they get demented, lash out at everyone around them. But it's not just that. It's kind of, sometimes you see it falling away. Relationships that once you thought were serving you are not. And it's kind of, I remember a wise woman once said to me when I was going through a very, very deeply sad period of my life. She said, it's better, you can't surround yourself with positive people right now. It's better to just get rid of the negativity. It's better to have some quiet time and just be by yourself or with your kids or whatever. No, don't keep going. You know, it's like we have our own path, and sometimes people try and pull us off it in a very negative way, and then it's frustrating. So I feel like that's been happening, and I'm making some decisions now about how much to let go, and where I want to head next. The chapter's ending, you know. So.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. My heart goes out to you, because that feels really hard and back to back. That's a lot of emotional labor that I can understand being stuck. So thank you. Yeah. Anyone else want to be seen and just where you might want support today? This might require braving in front of an audience, I understand.
I can share first. I can resonate with what Lily said about expression. I'm in my business trying to feel that block of expressing through words, through my voice. So that kind of resonated for me.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I heard that little shadow laugh with your voice. So I get curious there, right? When we're onto ourselves, sometimes we say something with a little chuckle. And I'm always cueing into that, because it's sort of like you're onto yourself. So yes. We'll work on voice too in here, because I definitely love bringing your authentic voice forward, which is what shadow work can do. So thank you all for sharing. I hear a theme of letting go and expressing emotions. And art is a great place for that. So it's a sanctuary, in my opinion, for bringing our big intense emotions and our humanity. So I'll give you a quick 101 on what shadow work is. And then the way this is going to unfold until about 8 o'clock, if you're on the East Coast, is some guided meditations, some journaling prompts, a little bit of music, I like to move through different modalities because everyone learns and feels in different ways. So you get to explore what works for you. And if at any point emotions are coming up, if you just don't want to be seen in that or you feel vulnerable, you can go off camera. Please have a journal and pen handy. If you don't have it, grab that now. Because I want you to have a place, if things do come, that you've got a place to put them. Maybe ideas, maybe emotions, but just to have that handy, okay? And I am just really excited because shadow work has been a game changer for me. I began working with Debbie Ford when I was 23, so 20 years ago. And it taught me how to be my own best friend. So shadow work is the work of unearthing our treasures, right? And this can look like things we buried long ago, either because they weren't celebrated, they were shamed, they just weren't understood by the people around us. It can also be things we don't feel so good about, the not so proud of human aspects of ourselves that we also hide. And I'll give you an example in a minute to give you more clarity here. But it tends to be aspects of ourselves that we've disowned and no longer have access to. And in losing that access, we don't have choice and freedom to articulate in certain ways, to express in certain ways, to even be seen in certain ways. So the first thing I'd like to do is just unpack what they call the dark and light shadow. I don't love the word dark. I think heavy is a better word. So in my work, the heavy shadow is the things we're ashamed of, right? My anger, my insecurities, my inability to connect sometimes, right? I'm just giving you examples. And the light shadow on the whole other side is the things we've disowned that we look up to in other people. Oh, she's a wonderful, gifted speaker. Oh, he's so smart. Oh, they're so incredibly good in their relationship. We project it onto others and we've disowned even the light, the good stuff, right? And this can happen at a very young age. I'm not going to go too much into attachment science because that's not the class today, but this split within us can happen when someone says, don't be so selfish, you know, don't be so loud, don't be so goofy, right? We end up closing these doors within ourselves. And Debbie had this great analogy of each of us being born this big, beautiful castle, like 40, 50 rooms and all these windows and hallways. And with every don't be, or you can't be, right? A door closes, a door closes. And somewhere in midlife, we wake up like a 2-bedroom apartment that needs a lot of work and we're not happy. We don't know why. And the reality is those doors need to open. We need to be able to be what I call the totality of our humanity, right? From the joyful to the murderous. I'm not saying anyone's gonna go do that. I'm just saying to be able to express it, to be able to own that I've got everything inside of me, right? There's nothing I see out there that I don't have as well. And it doesn't mean you're necessarily going to act on something, but there's the possibility in a given situation, in the right situation, that you share that same human aspect. So this also leads to more compassion in our world. Because when you judge someone, you get angry at someone for something, you can also be like, when's the last time I was late? Or I forgot to cancel an appointment? Or, you know, I lost my shit on somebody. Pardon, there's no young kids here, okay. So it allows us to have compassion for others and for ourselves when we can see that we have the same shared humanity, right? So with that, and I know that's, you know, sometimes Shadow Work 101 is like a whole class itself, but we're going to dive into creativity. I'd like to read you a poem by Rumi. If you can, just gently close your eyes or soften your gaze, or just don't feel like you have to be on the monitor for this piece, okay? And feel into this. This is The Guest House by Rumi. This being human is a guest house, Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Just breathing into that, maybe it lands for you, maybe it doesn't. Noticing what's possible if you were spacious enough to allow everything to exist within you. To create your art and your life, which is also an act of art, from a place of embracing it all. Then gently find your pen and paper from this place. I'm gonna give you guys a little shadow trick to try. I want you to think about something you don't feel good about within yourself, something you might be ashamed of, something you might even be afraid to reveal to others, something you quietly struggle with, or not so quietly struggle with sometimes. Just notice what that aspect is, that descriptor is, and when you've exhibited it. And then I invite you to consider its polar opposite. This would be your light shadow. So if you wrote down weak, I want you to think about where have you had strength, right? If you wrote down mean, where have you shown kindness? We're balancing the scales here because you're everything. So just taking a moment to notice a light shadow that comes out of a dark shadow. And this you can do with partners and friends, and just notice how multifaceted we are. We're all the colors. See what it feels like to hold both. Right? The grief-stricken and the joyful, the angry and the, contented. Sometimes feeling shaky and sometimes feeling powerful. Notice in your body what it feels like to be able to hold both, the both and quality of shadows. Then gently wrapping up, if you've got some things you want to recall or remember. Give you guys about 30 seconds. When you're ready, just come back to the screen so I can check eyeballs and make sure you're feeling complete there. Okay. So I'm going to share a story just to give you an idea of where shadow work can benefit you. Growing up, I had a parent that was a total rager. Anger was present often. And so what I did was say, I'm never going to be angry, right? I put this piece away. I'm never going to be like that. I'm not going to be angry at anyone ever. I'm going to be a pacifist, I'm going to be gentle. And I got into my 20s, and there were times I should have been angry, and I could not access my anger. I was a doormat, I was a people pleaser, and I couldn't even reach for it. It wasn't available to me, and it was actually burning me in my life. And so I had to come face to face with, here's something I've buried that actually could serve me. Righteous anger, moral courage, indignation, boundaries. And I couldn't reach that if I just buried anger as inherently bad. So this is how the shadow can help you. Things that we tuck away and pretend aren't us could be part of your creativity and your art. I mean, I started writing some pretty angry songs, felt pretty good. And I couldn't have done that if anger was not on the table, or at least available. Okay. So I want you to think about something you've buried, right? Something, it might have been in your childhood, that young, sweet part of you decided, I'm not going to be like that. And it could have also been that someone said, maybe you were artistic and playful and loud, and someone was like, stop being so goofy and loud. Be a little more square in how you do things. So just notice, it could be any buried treasure here. Light shadows, dark shadows, but something that could serve you, right? And Debbie gave the analogy of, growing up, someone saying, don't be a liar. Like maybe she stole something or a cookie or something. It's like, don't be a liar. And her thing was like, if someone was after your best friend during a really screwed up time in the government, would it be in service to you to be able to lie that they're not at your house? Right? Like we just don't know where these aspects could serve us. And I want you to have a choice to use any aspect of who you are in your art. So I'm going to give you guys, and I'm going to take questions after this in case you're like, what the heck's happening? I'm going to give you guys about 4.5 minutes. I'm going to play a song called Everything by Alanis Morissette that she wrote after a shadow workshop. And I want to gift you this time to uncover one of those buried treasures, to make friends with it. Maybe you don't even know how it's going to support you yet. Right? You don't have to be crystal clear about it, but maybe it's your voice, your unapologetic expression, your anger, which was mine. Maybe it's the part of you that needs to set boundaries, or that wants to shine and step forward in a big way, and maybe visibility is the shadow you need to reclaim. So whatever it is, I'm going to give you guys about 4.5 minutes, which is the time on the song, to check in with yourself. What wants to emerge and come back home to you? What do you want to reclaim in the next season, the next year? And go with whatever comes up. Trust what comes up for you right now. Okay, we'll be back in about 4.5 minutes.
I can be an asshole of the grandest kind. I can withhold like it's going out of style. I can be the moodiest baby, and you've never met anyone who's as negative as I am sometimes. I am the wisest woman you've ever met. best woman that you've ever known. I am the dullest woman that you've ever known. I'm the most gorgeous woman that you've ever known. And you never met anyone as everything as I am. Sometimes you see everything, you see every part, you see all my light, and you love my dark. You dig everything of which I'm ashamed. There's not anything to which you can't relate, and you're still here. And you're still
Okay, so gently coming back, wrapping up whatever it is that you feel has you feeling complete. I'm curious how this is for you. I'm thinking about how you guys are coming in here for creativity, and I'm throwing in, joy and pain and all these things in the ways that I know that shadow work can liberate us, which is to the extent we can feel our pain and our hurts, to the extent we can also feel our joy and aliveness. And that is full expression to me in the arts. So I'm curious, any questions or just sharing how this is for you so far before we go into the second half here? Anyone feeling stuck finding a shadow? Anyone want to share their shadow? And if you are feeling stuck, you could probably go to your partner, your closest best friend, maybe an ex, and they could point out a shadow for you, right? It's often kind of tattooed on our foreheads to other people, and it might sometimes feel like a blind spot for us. Yeah, so I could certainly ask my partner for a few shadows, and he'd be pretty obliged to share. So there are people around you who can help you see this as well. Okay. Is there one person that wants to share what came up for them? Yes.
I'll just share that with the song, I loved how she ended it with "I'm still here." That even though she saw the negative sides of herself, or the shadow sides, then it led to also the good side. I'm the most beautiful person you'll see, or something. I don't know the exact lyrics, but and then she, what must have been very difficult, then she could still say, "I'm still here," because I probably don't want to show those things, and I'll feel like, oh, I'll be like, I don't know, destroyed if I show those kind of things. And when you do show them, she's still here. That really resonated for me.
It's so beautiful. Thank you for naming that. Yeah, I'm touched to hear that. Anyone else? Just recognizing how this could support you, or how this might confront you. Or any questions. So I want you guys to feel like you're tracking this and understanding it.
I'll share something, darkness and the light, and to be able to swim in both, I guess. That's challenging to be able to do that at the same time.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's a way of growing our capacity, right? To hold ourselves with compassion. And I'm going to say with affection, right? Because even when I say, I love, and if you guys can see, it's dark now, but my painting behind me says, I remember joy. My natural energy is like joy, aliveness. That's where I want to be. But I also know the places in me that are like quicksand and a dark hole. And, you know, if I really embrace both, I'm not running away from anything, right? That's a lot of energy that we leak if we're like, oh God, I'm not that. I hope no one sees that I'm that. But if we can declare it, be like, yeah, I'm all of it. So what? So are you, right? Then we've got nothing to hide and nothing to prove. And that's what's going to liberate your art, your voice, you know, your relationships. Obviously, this work transcends just the artistry, but our creativity is from that place where we feel okay with ourselves. And this is going to, if you can work with it, expand your capacity for what you can express and share. Right? This is about risking more emotionally. Now, I don't know the demographic here. I know mostly it's artists, but some of you might be more on the like visual arts versus songwriting versus, you know, novel writing. It's still about how can you risk more emotionally? How can you say the thing you're afraid to say, right? What's the thing you're afraid to say? And then how can you do it anyway? And this could be even just asking for a need in a relationship, right? It doesn't have to be you decide to have this big, huge gallery opening that's crazy and wild. It could just be whatever's right in front of your face right now in your life. So the question becomes, how much more can you risk emotionally to show up, to reveal? That's probably my favorite word in shadow work, to reveal yourself to yourself with loving compassion and to others. And what the greatest alchemy of this is to me is when I start to judge someone out there. You know, Debbie would say, when you point your finger, there's 3 fingers pointing back. Every time I'm like, oh, that son of a bitch, about anybody, about anything. I'm like, oh, okay, where am I like that? It might not look the same, but I know for sure I am not beyond it myself, right? Like if someone's yelling at their kid, I don't have kids, right? I could be like, gosh, where might I lose my cool? How much would I have to be struggling to lose my cool like that in public, right? And all of a sudden, there's compassion for that person instead of just pure judgment, right? I'm going to speak for myself. It takes care of a lot of energy leakage that then can go into my art and into my life. Right. So, any questions before I drop you guys into another meditation? Any questions about shadow work itself? Cheryl, I saw you unmute. I wasn't sure if you had something you wanted to ask or add.
No, it just like for me, this is like a new way of thinking about things. And, you know, it seems, you know, simple, but, you know, now to think like, you know, those things that we bury that, you know, by having the ability or the courage to access those things that, you know, and not push them away and have it help you. That's just like not like that. That was kind of like a revelation for me. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure it serves everyone. When we share like this, right? And I see people nodding, it's helping everyone integrate and deepen what they're getting. Yeah. And I think every time you own a shadow, there's this whole other burst of energy and creativity that can come from that. And I can only speak as a songwriter, but I know for me growing up here, I was very Americanized and I was like rock and roll and American, you know, music. And I really buried the fact that I'm Afghan. It's just not necessarily important where I was growing up. But when I started making music to skip over women's rights, to skip over the righteous anger I had at the suppression or oppression of women, the mental health issues of the men, to not write about that felt really disingenuous, right? But I had to embrace like, I am a refugee, I am an immigrant, I am Afghan. That was all like not cool to be into as a teenager, right? It was cool to be into Jimi Hendrix and the Doors and stuff. So every time you bring something back, you reclaim something that you've been probably sitting on your power with. Expect to have this incredible new outlet through it. And it's a relationship, right? You're rebuilding a relationship with parts of you that haven't seen the light of day. So also be gentle with it. Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so I want to give you guys what I often do with clients, which is a core gifts meditation. Okay, so this is again a place for you to just drop in, get comfortable in your seat, find your breath. I think that's really important here. And you can always go off camera if you'd rather not be seen with your eyes closed, hanging out, totally fine. And keep breathing deep belly breaths, moving air through your body, moving energy through your body as I walk you through this, okay? And you can always come out of your closed eye meditation if you want to write something down. Always welcome to take care of yourself that way if anything is important. So for our lives to work in love and in all aspects, we have to start from our very center. And in my opinion, your core gifts are your very center. Knowing them is like the secret passageway for your capacity to art and love and life. So your core gifts are the deepest and most sensitive parts of you, right? They're the parts that feel life the most intensely, that feel love the most intensely. And because they come from our core, they might feel like Tuesday to us, right? We might have a super blind spot around this being a real gift of ours because it comes so naturally to us. Mm-hmm. But the reality is it doesn't come naturally for others. So it truly is unique to us. So if we look at our lives and we find areas of particular sensitivity, vulnerability, passion, maybe even things that trigger us, right? Something that hurts your feelings may roll off someone else's back, right? Something that makes you feel deeply may have very little impact for someone else. So it's really honoring the unique experiences here that we have. And as it relates to your core gifts, they're the ones we experience the most joy and the most pain around, right? Again, these are highly charged parts of our being. They're who we are at our core essence. So if you weren't validated for these core gifts, you may not even know where to find them, I'm gonna say, but we're gonna work on that today. When you feel validation and acceptance around these core gifts, you shine, right? There's a natural sense of being seen and validated in them. And I consider these core gifts kind of the ache, the compelling pull, the inner reaching that we sometimes honor and sometimes try to silence, right? It's the music that plays below the surface of our minds. And to acknowledge our core gifts is to create a deeper intimacy with our most essential self, right? So this is about gravity. What gives you gravity and has you feeling the weight of your real self? I guess just naming here, sometimes people say, why are our core gifts hard to discover? I think the main reason is that most of them have rarely been called or treated as gifts. Gifts are treated with a value that they deserve. So Maybe you were labeled as overly sensitive. Hearing some sound. Is everyone muted? Okay. Maybe they were labeled as overly sensitive or overly intense, or no one ever saw them as particularly special. Often our gifts are buried in our life story, and we miss the beauty and importance of how they have shaped our lives. Most of us have never been taught how to find those gifts, how to name them, and how to nurture them. So this is going to be a gentle meditation for you. It's going to only be 2 questions, and I'm going to give you a little bit of time to breathe into them and to honor the kind of strength that's unique to you. Okay? So the easiest way to discover your gifts is to spend time thinking about these 2 questions. I'm going to give you time between the 2. First one is, what hurts your heart the most? You think of the world, your life story, your relationships, what you see on the news. If you could pinpoint it, what hurts your heart the most? I will share with you mine just if it helps you. Coming from a war zone, I think any kind of war, whether it's war between nations, war within, a family, like war in the kitchen with my partner, that hurts me the most because I want as much peace as possible in this world. So notice if you can articulate in your life what hurts your heart the most. I give you guys a minute to sit with that. Minute and a half. What hurts your heart the most in this life? And seeing it through the lens of honoring your vulnerability, honoring the different kind of strength you have here, that this has you feeling intensely. Gently wrapping up that one. Of course, you can come back to it. Make sure you have notes to come back to. Because here's the thing, we've just not been taught, in order to understand our deepest suffering or our greatest joys, that the gifts that lie at their core are our core gifts, right? So next question for you is, what fills your heart the most? I like to say, what has your heart feeling fed? So either way, what fills your heart the most has your heart feeling fed, nourished. Really step into some memories here that might help the emotional state of this. These questions are 2 of the greatest pathways to understanding your core gifts and the deeper stories of your life. I'll give you guys another minute to journal there. breathe deeply through this, right? These can be confronting questions. And I'm going to add a bonus question on the fly here. I want you to really just breathe deeply, relax into these questions, and allow the answers to come from your heart, right? Not censoring what you write. This is just for you. So recall in your mind's eye and describe 3 times in your life when you felt most deeply inspired, fed, or moved in a relationship with someone. And you can write a few sentences about each experience, or you can just really, if you're visual, just see them in your mind's eye. 3 times in your life when you felt most deeply inspired, fed, or moved in a relationship with someone. As you recall them, feel the ripples of emotion each one brings up. Savor each memory for a moment or two. Gift yourself that sweet recall. And if you've got those 3, I'm going to invite you to see if there are any common themes in those experiences. What do those memories capture about you, and what inspires you in relationships, in life? And if you've got it, choose the most important thing that these memories capture about you. Try to write 1 sentence, doesn't have to be perfect. Messy first draft, write 1 sentence that captures this important attribute of yourself. Maybe it's, I feel lit up when I get to nurture the people I love, right? The nurturer quality. Or I feel lit up when I get to just be goofy and playful. And then also notice, for good measure, how it feels if this part of you is deprived of oxygen or squelched or neglected in any part of your life. What kind of pain comes from that part being squelched by you, by others? And last but not least, who in your life, past or present, helps this part of you come alive and feel safe and welcomed? Maybe pick 1 or 2 people who help you feel that way most strongly. Take a moment to thank them silently, because they've seen your core gift. And see if you can put a name to your core gift. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just a way for you to come back and remember it. And it may feel awkward to treasure this part of yourself, but the truth is somewhere inside you already do. So it's just a matter of owning who you really are. Just take a moment to honor it if you found it, and trust that it'll come if you didn't during this time. And if this gift had a message for your life, what would it be? How would your life grow as you honor this more deeply and spend time with more people who value it, who know how to value it? Just write a few sentences to describe your future if you truly embrace and express this core gift in deeper ways. And as you're ready, take your time, no rush at all over here. Gently wrapping up, making sure you have what you need from your meditation. And when you're ready, moving your body a little, might be moving some energy here. And then coming back to the screen for some questions and wrap up. Okay, welcome back. So I'm curious, just anyone who wants to share, let's take a few shares. And I know I want to honor the time as well. What was that like for you? Were you surprised by something? Is there something it's been on the back burner for a while, so you're not surprised, but now you're noticing it more? What came up for you in the core gifts meditation? And if it was hard, that's okay too. So welcome to share if that felt confronting or challenging. Barb?
Hi. This is something, I mean, I did the Debbie Ford work many years ago, and I'm always doing this type of work. And more recently, I've been seeing how these limiting beliefs, even though I've been aware of them, and I bury them sometimes, they come back. But doing this work now, because it's been ongoing for me more recently, it's like in my face. And yeah, I wasn't on before because I was out and I was driving. So
Good.
that's
Safe.
I didn't want to close my
choice.
eyes. Yeah, I didn't want to close my eyes and meditate while I was driving.
I think Cheryl's recording, so you'll get a replay of anything you missed. But yeah, I'm glad you chose the safer choice on the road. Thanks for sharing, Barb. Yeah.
This was very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
So glad. Thank you.
Because I need to have things in my face sometimes.
Hmm? Who can relate?
Like get hit over the head with a 2x4. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yeah, that 2x4 comes less and less if we lean into things. So that is my guarantee to you. Yeah. Anyone else want to share as we wrap up? Or have a question? Is there a core gift that You can just even raise your hand that surprised you, that popped up. So you all kind of knew. Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I can name one of mine, which is always thinking sensitivity was such a curse growing up, being like the most sensitive little canary in the coal mine in a family where everyone else seemed normal. And it felt really hard in the world and in my relationships. And when I finally embraced sensitivity as one of my greatest core gifts, that's where I can do my coaching and my artistry, and hold compassion for people because I get it and I feel it. And I can be with people the great amount of capacity for big, intense emotions because I've had them all. So the curse can become the blessing, right?
Mhm.
Really how we write the story for ourselves. And the reason I'm so excited for you all to even have a little bit of shadow work in your world is because Deb used to say either you use your story or your story uses you. And I think that's very true. Either we are running from it or we are befriending it and getting the treasures from it. Right? There's all this talk of like slaying dragons, and in shadow work, it's like, can you kiss your dragon on the nose? Can you get that loving and tender and accepting and compassionate with your dragon to where it feels safe and it doesn't have to act out, breathe fire. So yeah. I hope this served you all. I'm happy to stay on a few minutes, and I also want to honor if this is your time commitment that you get to either share or, warmly say goodbye. So does anyone want to stay on a couple more minutes? Does everyone feel complete? Okay. Yeah, so thank you so much for letting me give you guys an intro to shadow work. I trust the process will help you unleash more creativity. And Cheryl, if you don't mind just letting everyone know how they can reach me if they want to do more work, or if questions pop up in the coming week, I'm so happy to support you.
Great.
Cool.
Thank you so much, Fereshta. This was like way more than I know I had hoped for. I knew it would be juicy, as you said, but it really was wonderful. And I will share the recording with everyone who registered. And if it's okay, I'll share whatever information you'd like
Totally.
me to share with everyone who registered. And
yeah, happy to continue the conversation, even if it's just a virtual coffee date to support you. This work is gentle and powerful, so be gentle with yourselves over the coming days. Things might surface, and yeah, I wish you all just so much love and blessings in the kind of creations you are making for our world. It matters. Lots of love.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
thanks so much.
You're welcome. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Good night.